2 weekends into conference play, and as I told you on Friday, or maybe it was Thursday last week, either way, I told you late last week, had this feeling, right? Had this feeling going into this past weekend that we'd see some chaos, we'd see some madness, and I'm not a big pat myself on the back guy when it comes to predictions and projections or what have you, because you miss so many of them, right? I mean, the best gamblers in Vegas, they nail 62% or so of their predictions, right? So you miss 38%. So I miss plenty. So I'm not someone that's going to pat myself on the back when I get one or two or a couple right or what have you. But as we start and we look back talking about the slate that was over the weekend, I want to give myself, shamelessly, give myself some credit because I went on record. I felt like, you know what? Don't sleep on Buzz Williams. Do not sleep on Buzz Williams' squad. Home game in College Station. Kentucky's had some close calls. Went with my gut. Went Texas A&M. Spread then comes out. Texas A&M favored. Texas A&M gets the dub. We start there, guys. We had a pair of overtime games, by the way, over the weekend. Texas A&M beats Kentucky, final score of 97-92. Now, I'll say this too, guys. There are so many games in a basketball season, right? When we drop things like power rankings, for example, which I dropped those today, I got Auburn number 1, right? Kentucky still number 3, A&M down around 6 or 7. Here's the reason. You can't overreact to one game. You just can't do it. It's just like baseball, right? Not quite as severe, but you can't overreact to one game. But I think what this past weekend showed, and for Texas A&M specifically, again, A&M is still one of the most dangerous teams in the league. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I think what we're going to keep saying every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every weekend is, man, the depth of this conference on the hardwood is better than it's ever been. Like, even the teams that you'd classify in the bottom third, right? The bottom of the barrel, if you will. They're still quality basketball teams. They can still beat you on any given night. And Kentucky learned that the hard way. How about Wade Taylor, guys? We talk about guys that could be player of the year, best players in the SEC. Wade Taylor, 31 points in this ball game against Kentucky. I mean, he went off. 31.6 rebounds, by the way, as well. He was 6 of 13 from 3. Took 24 shots in the game. 24 shots, but he was absolutely electric, guys. I mean, just incredible. 11 of 12, by the way, from the charity stripe as well. Tyrese Radford, another guy, senior out of Baton Rouge, which, man, LSU missing out on him. 28 points to accompany. It was really Wade Taylor and Tyrese Radford from start to finish for Texas A&M. They combined for 59 of Texas A&M's 97 points. Reeves for Kentucky led the way, 22 points. Wagner with 18. Dillingham with 15. And how about Draymond Green coming out after the game, posting on X saying that Kentucky needs to get Dillingham, needs to let Dillingham rock. Get Dillingham the rock more. Pretty crazy when you see that happening, when you see an NBA guy talking about a college basketball game in that manner. But either way, guys, a huge win for Texas A&M, a great back-and-forth game. I mean, again, guys, obviously you go to overtime. Aggies find a way. We felt like it's like, okay, you're talking about some teams that are disappointing. When is Texas A&M going to wake up, right? When's Texas A&M going to get things rolling? Buzz Williams squad. I think you saw that in this game. Really impressive victory. Really nice. We'll see now, is this a game? Is this a performance that sparks Texas A&M? But what a game from Wade Taylor and Tyrese Radford. And, they only shot 40%, guys. I mean, it wasn't like they shot the lights out. Kentucky outshot them 42%. But again, A&M at home. And, guys, we're seeing this as a theme in the SEC. And some folks may say, well, yeah, no duh, it makes sense. But the home teams early on in conference play are dominating. These home teams are dominating. I think the stat, I'm not sure if the Bama-Mississippi State game threw this off, but The stat was home teams thus far in SEC play are 11-2. Even if you count the Mississippi State Bama game, if that's not included, if it's 11-3, still, guys, home floor means virtually everything at this point, especially when you're talking about splitting hairs on, this team versus that team, and you've got 1 point or 2 point spreads or what have you. Home underdogs are a really nice pick early on in this season. Texas A&M only reinforcing that, the big 97-92 victory. Now, going against the grain on that, how about Tennessee goes to Georgia? And I thought Georgia, guys, with a real missed opportunity. The Dogs, I tell you, the Dogs, much better than I thought they'd be. Much better. I mean, Georgia is legitimate on the floor this year. 85-79, though, Tennessee, they get the W. How about the performance of this kid? The Knecht kid. Dalton Knecht for Tennessee. 36 points in this ballgame. Dropped 36 on Georgia's head. Shot 60% from the field. 5 for 8 from 3. 7 of 9 from the charity stripe. Had 4 rebounds to go with it. 3 assists. He was fantastic. Right? Ziegler with 18. Adu with 10 points and 15 rebounds, by the way. The thing about Tennessee, outside of their style and their physicality, they're going to beat up on you for 40 minutes. They have so many different guys that can make contributions, right? I mean, you go down the list of quality guys they have, quality bodies they have. It's going to be really, really tough. And I know Mississippi State just beat Tennessee, so they're certainly not unbeatable. But it's just going to be really, really tough to catch Tennessee on a night where everybody isn't clicking, right? Because they don't have to have everyone on every night, right? One night it's going to be Knecht. One night it'll be Ziegler. One night it's Vescovi. One night it's Adu. One night it's James. One night it's Awaka. The list goes on and on and on of quality bodies for Tennessee. It's going to be really, really difficult to catch them on a night where all of those guys go cold. But for Georgia, guys, I mean, you got Tennessee on your home floor. You're leading for a lot of this game. Abdur Rahim with 21 points. Thomason with 14 points. Damari Jr. with 13. Melendez with 13. But I think Georgia's going to look back on this game and give credit to Tennessee, by the way, defensively. Held Georgia to 33% shooting. Dogs did shoot 42% from 3, so they shot better from 3 than they did overall, but held them to just 33% shooting. In this game, Tennessee shoots 48%, 35% from 3. But I think Georgia fans, they're going to look back on this ballgame. No shame in losing to Tennessee. No shame in losing to the 5th-ranked Volunteers, but a bit of a missed opportunity. A bit of a missed opportunity here for Georgia, and now you got to go on the road, I believe it is. I think Georgia now travels to South Carolina tomorrow night, what'll be a really fun game, but you want to protect the home floor, right? When you're talking about a Georgia team that's trying to make an unexpected run to an NCAA tournament appearance, it's those kind of games you feel like you need to lock down that can really give you that momentum boost, and instead, it's a close miss, but give credit to Tennessee again for withstanding Georgia's best effort, and the Vols finding a way to get the job done. Guys, we go to the Florida-Arkansas game. I said it once, I said it again, though. I'll reaffirm what I said. Arkansas is cooked. They're done. They're finished. Finito, history, it's over. Hog fans, it's over. Time to start looking ahead to baseball, man. Because this basketball team, I don't get it. I don't understand it. Hard to comprehend it. I don't know what's going on, though. 90-68. The Gators get the job done. And, hey, listen, give credit to Florida, right? Quality basketball team. But this Arkansas team, guys, this Arkansas team, just, it is hard to believe how bad they are. And I put them 14th in the power rankings, just to make a point. Like, guys, they haven't lost a SEC game by single digits yet. Like, Arkansas is not even showing up. They're not just losing. They're getting crushed. The Hogs shooting 38% in this game. Leading scorer Blocker with 14, Davenport with 13, Mark with 12, Pinion with 12. But it's uninspiring, guys. I mean, it's an uninspiring effort. Florida just doing whatever they wanted practically in this ball game, shooting 49%. Also, really encouraging game for Florida, a team that, I think let Ole Miss sort of run through them. Ole Miss had an incredible shooting night, 60% from the floor. Florida is able to rebound, obviously, and play much better defense, and that turns into a win. But the bigger takeaway for me, guys, I think Florida is going to be one of those really, really good, tough to deal with, middle-of-the-pack SEC teams. But it's more just shocking how bad Arkansas is. A team that, we're accustomed to seeing them have these slow starts, if you will. But what we're seeing right now from the Hogs, it's really, really hard to process. So Eric Musselman and company still looking for answers. A nice win for the Florida Gators on the flip side, guys. Ole Miss got a win, making it back-to-back W's. They beat Vanderbilt by a final score of 69-56. The bigger takeaway from this game, guys, I mean, Ole Miss beats Vandy. Whoop-de-doo, big deal, right? I mean, that was supposed to happen. Give credit to Ole Miss, but Vandy is terrible. But how about Jerry Stackhouse coming out after the game and saying about Ole Miss's roster, the best roster that money can buy? Now, I had some folks on social media present sort of a different outlook on these comments, right? A different outlook coming from the standpoint of, hey, he's more so complaining about the lack of resources at Vandy versus criticizing Ole Miss. And while I understand that, I do. I really, really do, guys, because we've talked to folks from the Vandy side of things that complain about those very same things. But it still came off to me as just a wild thing to say. A wild thing to say in my mind. Like, you just, you just lost yet again. You are 5 and I think 11 in year 5 of your tenure. You need to worry about, why are you even speaking on Ole Miss's roster? Like, these sour grapes after yet another L. And we are watching the Jerry Stackhouse era in Nashville just crumble before our very eyes. Like there's no question. Vandy really seriously might want to consider a midseason coaching change. Like no doubt. They really might want to consider it. I don't know that they will do that, but they might want to consider that. Again, Ole Miss, ho-hum, you get the W, Vandy, a team. Guys, I don't know that Vandy wins a conference game this year. I really don't. Like, they are bad, right? They're bad. Ole Miss, in the meantime, in this game, shooting 41%, 40% from 3. But, dude, Vandy's terrible. Vandy, the entire conference, top to bottom, is really good, except Vandy, right? They add nothing to the league this year. But Ole Miss, back-to-back wins, get to 2 SEC wins. Great job of bouncing back since that first game against Tennessee. But Vandy, man, Jerry Stackhouse. I mean, again, I'm preaching to the choir when it comes to Vandy fans. They are done on the Stackhouse era in Nashville. Guys, to Como we go. How about South Carolina? Another overtime winner. The Gamecocks beat Mizzou 71-69. This was a fun one, back and forth. If you did not watch this one, the heart and the guts of Lamont Paris's squad is something really, really impressive. And I think one of the bigger questions, guys, and I think what Gamecock fans should be so encouraged about, going into this game, it started to kind of feel like it was the Meechie Johnson show, and he had to be electric every night, and sort of whatever you got from other guys is what you got. Meechie Johnson only had 5 points in this game, guys, which is, you look at the numbers, it's hard to believe, right? Only had 5 points. BJ Mack explodes for 21 points. Talon Cooper, the transfer from Minnesota, 11 points. Jacoby Wright, 11 points. Miles Studi, 10 points. Colin Murray Boyles, the freshman, 6 points. So it was a collective, a team effort for South Carolina, truly, right? And a game that, listen, I was wrong on this one. I picked Mizzou. I thought Mizzou at home. I thought Dennis Gates, a really, really desperate Missouri team looking at, staring down the barrel of 0-3 in SEC play, thought they would protect the home floor. Seth East II with 15 points, Carter with 23. They shot 42% from the floor, but only shot 23% from three. Meanwhile, South Carolina, 41% and 29% what they shot from the floor in three, respectively. But a huge win for Lamont Paris's squad. Like, when you're winning your home games, guys, that's one thing, right? South Carolina pulls off the quote-unquote upset. It was like a 2-point spread against Mississippi State at home, then goes on the road to Bama, and I think got humbled a little bit. I just think hey, this is SEC play now. Like, you better bring it every single minute of every single game or you're going to get blasted. So I was really curious to see, okay, which way does South Carolina go now? Is the fairy tale over and the realities of SEC play settle in quickly? Or do the Gamecocks have something else? Do they have another pitch we haven't seen yet? And sure enough, and I know Mizzou's not great, but you go on the road, you get a W. That is a big-time win for South Carolina. It looks good on the resume, going on the road and winning in Como, and now sets up a really, really big game on Tuesday night against the Georgia Bulldogs. But again, huge win. Jacoby Wright with the clutch shot down the stretch, and then great defense to secure the victory at the end of that game. Gamecock fans should be proud of the product Lamont Paris has put on the floor this year, and it's going to be a lot of fun to follow South Carolina and Ole Miss, by the way, but follow both those programs that have just shattered preseason expectations and see what they are capable of doing down the stretch here in conference play. Guys, let's go first to Starkville. I want to save Auburn for last. Alabama gets a big road win over the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Final score of 82-74, guys. Like we mentioned, going on the road and winning, no easy task. There's no such thing as a bad road win in the SEC, especially when it comes against Chris Jan's squad at Humphrey Coliseum, the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Alabama starting to heat up, starting to catch some heat. How about Mark Sears yet again? We saw him against South Carolina go off, 22 points in this ball game. Alabama shooting 43% from the field, 36% from three. We know how lethal they are on the offensive side. Mississippi State did their best to keep up, 43% and 41% respectively from the field and from three. Tolu Smith leading the way with 15 points. Hubbard, the guard, 14 points right behind him. But a great job by Nate Oates' team, again, to go on the road, get this W, right? You were wondering, okay, you beat South Carolina. What does it mean? Now you got to go back on the road in SEC play. This is a huge win. It's a huge win for an Alabama team starting to build some momentum, right? Kind of find themselves, if you will, get things into gear. And all of a sudden, watch out. Don't let the Crimson Tide get hot. Don't let Nate Oates' team get hot. It may be too late. That was a really good win. For State, you lick your wounds. Hey, you lose on your home floor. It's never fun. I still think Mississippi State is going to be fine, but a huge win for Nate Oates' team. And guys, finally, as we close out looking back on the weekend that was, we go to the Plains. Auburn with a 93-78 win over the LSU Tigers, which, LSU, make no mistake, they're not great, right? LSU's not great. More so, though, the fact that Auburn, I think they won 9 straight games by double digits. 9 straight games by double digits, guys. Like, what Auburn is doing right now, we had them number 1. I had them number 1 in the power rankings this week. Because at some point, you got to give some respect. Like, you got to put some respect on these teams. And you got to put respect on Bruce Pearl's team. Right? And I know they have not played the best of the best of the best in the SEC quite yet, right? But still, Auburn has been wildly impressive. Like, they're not just beating people. They're pulverizing people, right? And it should probably come as no surprise because of, who and what Bruce Pearl is. Right? Baker Mazara with 19 points, Broome with 18, Holloway with 13 points in this ball game. They shot 46% from the field, 40% from three. You look at LSU, 42% from the field, 39% from three. Wright leading the way with 18 points. Trey Hannibal. Is that Trey Hannibal right there? Look at this. How about that? Trey Hannibal for the LSU Tigers. That's a familiar name to some of us. 18 points as well for LSU. I still think LSU guys, I like what Matt McMahon is doing. They're a pesky middle of the pack, even bottom third team. They're going to be a pesky team this year. And it was always going to be a tough task to ask them to go into the jungle and get the W. But Auburn has just been incredibly impressive, guys. They continue to rack up these double-digit point victories. Now, as the competition increases, let's see what happens with Auburn. But I think right now you can look at them, make no mistake, Auburn is a legitimate threat to be a team that we see in the Final Four this year. I think they've got that type of talent. We talked about the fact that Kentucky, Tennessee, yes, Auburn have separated themselves from the rest of the league, and the Tigers just keep on keeping on. Can they stay hot through conference play? We shall see. It's the SEC. Nobody gets out unscathed, but a great start, an ideal, a dream start, if you will, for Bruce Pearl's team, and they're going to be a tough out for anybody in this 2023-2024 basketball season.